So this is a video on how to disassemble, service, and reassemble a points unit off of early Harley Davidsons, uh, cone shovels, etc. There's not really any information out there that I've found on how to do this, so be a quick video on how to take this apart and the parts on this that need to be greased and cleaned. So let's get to it. So you're gonna need a means to clean, whether it's brake cleaner, parts cleaner, carb cleaner, acetone and some terry towels, napkins, whatever you have, I guess. I like to use Q-tips. Keep Q-tips in the garage, cleaning small parts. You're gonna need a pick, preferably these thinner style picks. You're going to need some sort of grease. I like to use white lithium. I try to stay away from the heavier greases. This is thinner, so when it's used in parts that are going to be pivoting, it doesn't make it tacky where it's going to want to kind of slow the travel, if you will. And then I'll explain more when I get into here. You'll see what I'm talking about. But the choice is yours on grease. Just do your homework, do your research. This is what I use. Okay, so to start, you're going to remove the cam, which is this piece right here. And then you're going to want to disassemble the flyweights from the backing plate. And to do that, you have to release these springs. They go through, there's a hole in the flyweights to the bottom where they retain themselves onto the flyweights. Don't remove them from there unless you're replacing the springs. The easiest way to remove them would be from this pivot pin right here on the top side. And it helps to have a skinny pick. Most automotive picks, they're usually too thick. So this style pick, like a dental pick almost, is best, I found. Whatever works for you. The idea here is to not deform or stretch these springs. So you just kind of get in here any way you can to kind of get the spring up and off like that, because there's a small retainer wedge in here that this spring sits in. So let's see if we can get this one off. There we go, nice and easy. When you're first doing this, it might take you a while to get those. So these are the flyweights right here. The flyweights have the return springs. These return springs are replaceable, and they sell them in different weights. For example, a stiffer spring or heavier weighted spring will take more force to allow the flyweights to expand. When the flyweights expand around the unit, your timing is advanced. If you want to change your timing curve, you can alter these springs if you're running a points ignition. Anyway, you just want to make sure everything looks good. Obviously, check the integrity of the springs and of the flyweights. On the back side of the flyweights, there are these pins. You want to make sure they're nice and snug, nice and firm, not loose. You want to clean everything thoroughly. Like I said, these are already cleaned and greased. I'm just doing this for the video. This is the backing plate. These small pins right here on the outside, these are called pivot pins. And over time, these holes will get wallowed out and they will start to create some slop when they're sitting inside of these pins. So check for any kind of play. The tighter these are, the better they are. Your timing will be consistent. The bike will be much easier to start. When these start to get wallowed out, you need to replace the weights in the unit or whatever. If the unit's fine, you can replace the weights, but generally I like to replace everything at once. Also, it pays to buy a nice unit, not a Taiwan unit from V-Twin. If you can find a American Prime, for example, those are good units made in America. They're very nice. Anyway, if there's corrosion on the backing plate or rust, you can Scotch-Brite that. Clean everything real well with acetone or whatever the cleaner it is you decide to use. And then you want to grease everything. It's up to you on the grease you use. I use white lithium because this is a little bit thinner. It's not as tacky of a grease. But that's up to you on what you want to use. I feel that heavier greases aren't ideal because these need to move relatively freely, and a tackier grease adds resistance to that. So anyways, once you have the backing plate clean, you can clean the inside and the outside of this cam. Clean up the flyweights, get any grease or gunk off of the outsides right here. You can clean up these pins as well, these dowel pins, and then grease these pins. Doesn't hurt to grease those. It's not really necessary. You want to also grease this part right here of the flyweights, because this is the part that comes in contact with the cam when it's assembled. So then for reassembly, you just throw this guy back on, and it doesn't make a difference either way. For example, you can throw it on this way, or you can throw it on this way. There's no incorrect way. It's just the pivot pin goes into the hole of the flyweight, and then that dowel pin goes into the backside right there. Real simple. You can't mess that up. So you can go ahead and throw this guy on now. Make sure that's in the hole over there. There you go. You can walk these springs back over gently. This part may take a minute. Let's see if we can get it relatively quick. Sometimes it helps to have a flathead screwdriver to kind of press them down as you're walking them in. See, that's almost there. See if we can get a flathead and kind of walk it home. Gently. There you go. Pop back in. See if we can do the same for this side. Try not to get in front of the camera and block the shot too much, but this is a little tricky sometimes. There we go. Just walk it all the way in. Should pop in. Just like that. Okay, this is pretty important right here. This next step, this cam, it can be installed the wrong way or the right way. There's a recess right here. And this recess goes on the side that has a dowel pin. So it's hard to see right now, but down in here there's a dowel pin, and it's not on both sides, it's only on one side. The side that that pin is on is the side that this recess needs to go in, and these holes right here align with the flyweight like this. Make sure you grease all this stuff. Anything that makes contact, you want to grease. So you gotta grease this, you gotta grease those pivot pins, and you have to grease those little nubs on the flyweights. So you throw this on, and if it's on correctly, this cam will sit below this center shaft. If it's 180 off, like this, you'll know right away, because you can see that center shaft is sitting below the surface. You want that center shaft to be proud of the cam surface, like so. Clean any excess grease off. Excess grease isn't good. It's going to make a mess. It could possibly get on your contacts. So that's pretty much it. You want to make sure it operates freely and that it closes on its own. So you can open it and release it, and it should close. These springs should close the flyweights all the way to their in position. If they're not all the way in their in position, these springs may be stretched and you may have to replace them. That's pretty much it. If you found this video helpful, please like it. I plan on making more videos in the future, so also any suggestions or comments, let me know what you think, if you want to add to this. Thanks for watching.